With Oliver Farry, our press reviewer, back once again. Hi there, Oliver.
Hello there.
Let's start off equally with you with our top news story, the protests in Hong Kong. Very interesting to see how it's being covered in various Chinese newspapers.
That's right. The protests now in their second week, and of course they took a more serious turn on Sunday. Hong Kong's main English language daily, the South China Morning Post, is carrying blanket coverage. It has among the articles is a blog written by one Jason Y. a member of Occupy Central, which is the group that launched this weekend's protests. He says he arrived very well prepared. Like most protesters, he had brought along eye goggles, face towels to help guard against tear gas, and umbrellas as well. We've seen quite a lot of umbrellas in the photographs coming from Hong Kong. He tells of a very well organised supply route where demonstrators brought in provisions, particularly saline solution and milk, which are very helpful in alleviating the effects of tear gas. And he also notes that the pro-Beijing CEO of the territory, Lung Jinying, a few years ago was accused of proposing to use tear gas and police on protesters. And he suggests that the tear gassing of demonstrators was actually ordered by Beijing yesterday. And he says that Leung has irreversibly altered the relationship between people and government in Hong Kong. And he says there's no turning back now, neither for him nor for us. The South China Morning Post also notes that Occupy Central lost control of the protest at one point. Now, this wasn't helped by the fact there was a communication breakdown. It wasn't helped by the fact that they brought forward their protests a few days. They were originally supposed to have authorisation from the 1st of October to do it, but they decided to capitalise upon the momentum of the student boycott that had been going for the last week. Now, they were forced to abandon their original venue for a much less accessible one, so therefore they weren't really able to get the appropriate messages out, and organisation broke down.
Well, speaking about communications and messaging, mentions of this protest have been blocked from the internet in mainland China.
Yeah, it's a tried and tested solution by the Chinese government. Yesterday, the South China Morning Post reports that on Sunday, the social media platform Instagram was blocked on the mainland. That joins a long list of illustrious social media platforms that have been blocked in China. Mainly because it was a large number of Occupy Central and pictures being posted. Mentions of Hong Kong and Occupy were also censored on China's main microblogging service, Weibo. The Hong Kong edition of the pro-Beijing China Daily reports on its front page, authorities condemn Occupy. The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of Central Government says that its resolution on Hong Kong electoral reform is, quote, unshakable and not to be challenged. Now, that's referring to its decision not to allow candidates to be freely selected for the chief executive election in 2017, which many people have said will ensure a sham election. Not surprisingly, China Daily seems to be laying the blame firmly on the protesters, saying they were, quote, persistent and let the situation get out of hand. Now, the Wall Street Journal Hong Kong, meanwhile, has an editorial headlined Hong Kong's democratic awakening. It says it marks a turning point in the city's quest for democracy. He says the leader says that President Xi Jinping pushed Hong Kong to this point with the publication of a white paper in July which rolled back the territory's autonomy. And the Wall Street Journal says it hopes that the protests remain peaceful because China will more or less use any excuse to clamp down. It says that continues that Hong Kong's democracy activists deserve the world's support. Not least, it says, from a US government that seems not to be paying attention.
Well, speaking of the United States, Barack Obama, he was on the 60 Minutes programme in the United States yesterday. He said that the United States did underestimate the Islamic State organisation. A big admission there.
That's right. He made it in an interview Sunday night. He also acknowledged that the Iraqi army's ability to successfully tackle the threat was probably a little bit overestimated. The Washington Post carries the story. Obama says that the turmoil in Syria allowed the rise of the Islamist group, which the US and its Iraqi allies had previously more or less defeated under its previous incarnation, Al-Qaeda in Iraq. He says the US intends to push the Islamic State group back and shrink its space, as well as cutting off financing and arms. He also said that Washington remains the go-to government for nations in need of assistance. He says when trouble comes up anywhere in the world, they don't call Beijing, they don't call Moscow, they call us.
All right, and finally, you've got somebody speaking out about other ways of battling the Islamic State organisation, and the clue is in the name.
That's right. Dean Obedallah, writing in the Daily Beast, says that in the fight against ISIS, he calls it, Islam is part of the solution. He praises 125 Muslim clerics who published a bold anti-Islamic State statement last week using Quranic references to back up their claims. There was also a meeting of Muslim leaders in the National Press Club in Washington last week. They were announcing a new initiative to combat extremism using the principles of Islam, and it hopes to deter Muslims worldwide from joining or supporting the Islamic State organisation, for whom their actual Islamic ideology is generally an appeal to the masses.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of Muslims from around the world rejecting the Islamic State organisation, haven't we, as well? Very interesting there. Thanks very much, Oliver Farry, with a look through the international press for us. Short break now. Coming up, our special focus report. We're meeting some of the young people who say they're prepared to fight for their right to be atheists in Egypt.